Hi, everyone. We would now like to test our knowledge on this, consolidation questions, where we bring the concept of a partial acquisition, right? We know understand that we certainly understand that to have a controlling stake, it is not compulsory for the acquirer to have 100% shares or 100% shareholding in the other company, right? So, given that scenario, the NCI starts to emerge, right? NCI starts to appear in the group balance sheet, right? So how do we deal with that? How does it change the calculation of goodwill, for example, etc.? Is something that we want to spend some time on now. Okay, let's have a look at it. It says company X acquired 80% shares in company Y on 31st of March 2021, right? The balance sheets are given for the same date, which probably means that, which actually suggests that the acquisition is done on the same date, right? It's also provided that prepare the consolidated balance sheet as on 31st of March 2021, right? It's further provided, so there are all the information of the assets, liabilities, etc. It mentions that company X measures the NCI at the fair value, and the fair value of the NCI is given at 50,000 rupees. Okay, so how do we deal with that is the question now. Okay, we know that our step one is to first of all look at the relationship between the entities, right? The date of acquisition, which is 31st of March 21, the reporting date, that is also 31st of March 21. Okay, but this time the percentage holding is 80%, right? That would give me again a subsidiary in place, right? A company Y becomes a subsidiary because 80% would safely, presumed, would be presumed to be a controlling interest in the other entity. Okay, so that's what we have got. The other working that we want to do is, of course, look at the goodwill calculations. Okay, the way we present goodwill here is we still ask ourselves, what is the purchase consideration? Okay, how much are you paying? Well, we have got the answer, 2,40,000. That's given in the balance sheet. So this 2,40,000 rupees comes. Okay, but then this is for, just for our understanding, it's for 80% equity, right? You are acquiring 80%. So for 80%, you are paying 2,40,000. Okay, but importantly, what will you consolidate? How much will you consolidate? We say we consolidate 100%. Okay, so we'll be deducting the net assets to the extent of 100%, and that's where we say the share capital is 1,50,000, right? That's a figure we want to pick up, and retained earnings of 50,000. This is what we have got, right? Which suggests that the overall net worth, the total net worth of the entity is in fact 2 lakh rupees, but this is 100% of the business. Okay, we are only looking at the goodwill for 80% because we are only acquiring 80% stake in that company, right? So from this entire total net assets, so let's put it like this, we need to adjust or eliminate the portion of the NCI, okay, which is given to us at 50,000 rupees, right? So when we do this, how are we interpreting that? We are saying that, well, I'm paying for 80%, and the worth of that 80% is 1,50,000. Okay, I'm paying 2,40,000 rupees for 80% stake in the company, which has a worth of 1,50,000. to the extent of that 80% worth, which means that my goodwill is measured at 90,000 rupees. Okay, the goodwill is measured at 90,000 rupees. That's what you want to remember. Now, this is not for 80%, share in the business. I mean, there's an 80% stake in the business, but this goodwill represents full goodwill because my NCI is at fair value. Okay, we don't have to worry about anything. I mean, this goodwill remains intact. We don't have to really much bother about what is the meaning of a full goodwill or a partial goodwill. This 90,000 appears in the group balance sheet as it is, right? So we don't have to worry about it at all. Okay, and since my date of acquisition and date of reporting are the same, I don't have to do anything else, right? In this case, which simply means if I were to do my calculations now, I'm simply looking at my consolidated balance sheet of company X as at 31st of March 21, right? I'm looking at again the format, which is assets, non-current assets, within which we have property, plant and equipment, right? Which is 1 lakh plus 2,50,000. Okay, let's take this column that far. This becomes 3,50,000 rupees. Okay, and then we have a license, which is 30,000 rupees, and then we had a goodwill. Okay, that amounted to 90,000 rupees. So I'm using the reference of working 2, making it 90,000 rupees. And then I'm looking at, of course, my current assets. Okay. Okay, which are inventories, 40 plus 30, that makes it 70,000. Cash and cash equivalents, which is 50 plus 20, 70,000. And then we have other current assets, which are 20 plus 25, which is 45,000. Okay, that gives us, of course, total assets. And if I do the sum total of this, that gives me 350 plus 30 plus 90,000 plus 70 plus 70 plus 45, that is 6,55,000. Okay. On the other hand, we have equity and liabilities, right? Start with the equity. Parents' share capital, right? Parents' equity at any point in time, 2,40,000. Retained earnings, 1,20,000, right? Now, importantly, the moment you see this less than 100% stake, you need to bring the non-controlling interest immediately after equity and of course before the liabilities portion. So this amount of 50,000 would appear in my balance sheet of the group, right? And then we have non-current liabilities. So let's mark those, which are bank loan, 1,50,000, right? Deferred tax, which is 30 plus 5, that's 35,000. Current liabilities, payables, 15 plus 10, and then we have other current liabilities of 25 plus 10. So this would be 25,000 here and 35,000 here, giving in total equity and liabilities. Let's do the sum total of that. It is 240 plus 120 plus 50 plus 150 plus 35 plus 25 plus 35. Now that gives us the same amount as the total of the asset side, right? So when there's a partial acquisition, you want to bring the NCI in picture, both in the balance sheet and of course for the purposes of goodwill calculation there, right? That's something that you want to pick up as a part of this conversation. Okay.